Our story begins when the first Titan, Aman'thul, the Highfather, awoke from his eternal slumber. The Titan Aman'thul did not know what awoke him or what his purpose was. All he knew was that he is alone in the great dark, but also knew that more of his kind must exist somewhere. So Aman'thul, the first Titan, set out to travel the great dark beyond in search of others. This is the beginning of the story of the Titans. After eons of searching for more Titans, Aman'thul learned of the origins of his kind. He had learned that Titans come from world souls nestled deep within the core of some worlds, feeding from its energy. The only thing Aman'thul could do now was await its awakening, and so he did. Eventually, after a long time, Aman'thul did find 6 other Titans. He found Titan Golganeth, Lord of the Skies and Roaring Oceans, Titan Sargeras, Shaper and Forger of Worlds, Titan Norgannon, Keeper of Celestial Magics and Lore, Titan Ionar, the Lifebinder, Titan Sargeras, the Defender, and the latest foundling, Titan Agramar, Lieutenant to the Great Sargeras. Together, these 7 Titans formed the Pantheon, bringing order and balance to the cosmos. For eons, the Pantheon kept searching for more of their kind. However, Aman'thul discovered more than just Titans. Demons, beings from the twisting nether, creatures who feed magic and life, beings who inflict suffering and torment to the cosmos. Fueled by fell magic, these creatures spread havoc upon worlds. But the Pantheon knew of this threat, so they sent the Titan Sargeras to eradicate them. However, Sargeras, now aided by Agramar, had noticed something. Throughout their time eradicating, they would encounter the same demons they had killed before. After studying the Nether, he realized exactly why. You see, killing a demon is not so simple. When a demon is slain, in time its body will return to the twisting Nether, where it shall be reborn anew. Sargeras had learned this, and thus came up with a new way to eliminate this threat. Sargeras began to banish demons to the plane of banishment, a world deep within the cosmos. This world would later be called Mardum. There, the demons would be trapped and are unable to cause further chaos to the cosmos. For thousands of years, as the Pantheon upheld order across the cosmos and sought out new Titans, Sargeras devoted himself to banishing demons to Mardum. Sargeras also tried to study them and the workings of the twisting Nether, or what little he could. But eventually, he did learn something else about the demons. He had learned that if a demon is dragged to the twisting nether itself and then killed, it will not be reborn. Nonetheless, Sargeras thought of it easier to just banish the demons to Mardum than eradicating them in the twisting nether. Until one day, when Sargeras was banishing demons to Mardum, he sensed something familiar, yet alien. He sensed a powerful being nearby, calling out to him. He sensed desperation. He sensed it needing help. He sensed a Titan. Sargeras sensed the urgency and traveled to where this feeling came from. The Pantheon hadn't found another Titan for eons, he thought to himself, and he just found one. He thought about Aman'thul and the other Titans of the Pantheon. He was about to welcome a new member into the fold. Sargeras felt pride of discovering this new Titan, so he pressed on. But what Sargeras found would forever change the Pantheon and the Order of the Titans. When Sargeras arrived, he saw something unimaginable. He saw a planet corrupted by something new, the Void. Sargeras looked deeply into this world and saw horrors. He saw monstrous aberrations, twisting beings consuming of this new void energy. He saw its corrupting spread across this world. And then Sargeras realized it. The being he sensed calling out to him was a slumbering world soul nestled in this very world. And Sargeras understood what was happening. This void was attempting to corrupt this unborn Titan, twisting and shaping it to the void's will. And for the first time, Sargeras felt something new. Sargeras felt fear. He imagined the horrors this dark Titan could bring to the cosmos. A puppet for this void, corrupting more and more. Could the Pantheon stand against such a being? Why, in their eons of searching, is this the first Titan they find? How many other dark Titans does this void already have? These thoughts turmoiled in Sargeras' mind. Panic set in. Was he looking at the very being that was going to kill him and the other Titans? Sargeras was enraged. He had to do something now while it was still slumbering. He had to stop this corruption. He knew he had no other choice. Sargeras did the only thing he knew could stop this threat. Sargeras cleaved the world in two, killing the corruption, but also the slumbering Titan within. Sargeras then made the decision to go back to the Pantheon and reveal the things he saw and what he did. Of course, he knew the other Titans would be furious, and oh, they were. The Pantheon was outraged. In their eyes, Sargeras had just killed one of their kind. He made such a hasty decision without even involving the other Titans. They could have prevented this void from corrupting this slumbering Titan. But no, Sargeras took it upon himself and murdered it. This innocent slumbering world soul. Sargeras knew the others couldn't understand what he saw, what he felt. He knew this was the only way. Sargeras was frustrated, and on that day decided to leave the Pantheon, never to return again. But Sargeras wasn't finished. He was more determined than ever. If the Pantheon didn't want to listen, he would take on the Void himself. Sargeras traveled back to Mardum. There, for thousands of years, he banished demons, and now he had returned. If he wanted to take on the Void, he would need an army. Sargeras set the demons free in exchange for absolute obedience. As time passed, the rift between Sargeras and the Pantheon grew. Now he had spent more time in the cosmos and witnessed more presence of the Void. Sargeras would call his army the Burning Crusade, for he knew the truth. He knew what he had to do. He knew the only way to stop this Void corruption from taking over was to eradicate all life, including the Pantheon and any other Titans. With Sargeras gone, the Pantheon also started to see more of this Void corruption spread in the cosmos. They tried to study the creatures of the Void, but the Pantheon still knew very little about them. However, one day during these studies, the Titan Agramar also sensed another world soul nearby. When investigating, Agramar, just like Sargeras, also discovered that the Void was attempting to corrupt this world soul, but Agramar did not panic. He traveled back to the Pantheon, and together they conducted a plan to cleanse this corruption without hurting the slumbering world soul within. After searching for Titans for many eons, the Pantheon had finally found another Titan. Aman'thul sensed that this Titan had immense power, more than he had ever encountered. What they didn't know, however, is that soon this world would be of great importance. Soon this world and Titan would have a name. Soon it would be called Azeroth. Peaceful, soundless, tranquil. The Titan within this world slumbers, awaiting her moment. But this serenity didn't last, for the Void laid eyes upon it. Unknown forces appeared from the cosmos and crashed into the planet like a meteor, forever changing this world. The Void touched the ground and unleashed unimaginable horrors. When Azeroth was still in its primordial state, its landmass was comprised of one singular continent. For eons, this giant continent was ruled by the Elemental Lords. The Elemental Lord Ragnaros largely dominated the east of the world, while the Elemental Lord Neptulon ruled over the western part. Then we have the Elemental Lord Terrazane, which ruled mostly in the northern part, deep within the mountains. And lastly, we have Alakir, who resided in the southern part. With these lords ruling over the lands, Azeroth was in a constant state of chaos. For eons, the elementals would be locked into an eternal battle against each other. However, when these aberrations of the void crashed into the planet and began their invasion, the elementals were quickly wiped out and their elemental lords enslaved. They never stood a chance against this power of the void. These gods of the void and their aberrations were now the ultimate power on Azeroth, with nothing standing in their way. With the continent fully corrupted by the void gods, it was only a matter of time before the slumbering Titan within would soon succumb to the void. However, this void would not invade as one. Instead, their goal was to infect and claim everything they could. This resulted in the creatures battling against one another to try and claim as much land for their own. This battle waged on for many years, with the world slowly becoming weaker and weaker. But eventually, this planet would not go unnoticed. The dying Titan within cried out to the cosmos. Eventually, the Titan Agramar heard its cries and saw the horrors being inflicted upon their kin. But the Titan Agramar traveled back to the Pantheon, and together they conducted a plan to cleanse this corruption. The most important task was ensuring the safety of the slumbering Titan within. Except the Titans were gods, and their massive forms would only damage the planet. This means they could not cleanse the corruption themselves. So the Titans forged an army to fight and eradicate this corruption. They forged soldiers from the very crust of Azeroth. The Titans named this army the Titanforged. This army would fight the aberrations and purge the world of this void. But that is a story for another time.